Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Inside the Mind. Today we're going to break down Lake Tenkiller down in Oklahoma. I'd never been to that lake. It's kind of a highland reservoir. It's kind of on the outskirts of the Ozarks, I would say, on that western edge. So, it sets up similar to like a Table Rock or a Bull Shoals, but kind of has a little bit of an Oklahoma feel to it as well. And the conditions that we had that week were very volatile, you might say. Midsummer tournament, June time of year, so post spawn, maybe a little bit of shad spawn left over. But we were dealt with a lot of rain that week and rising water levels. So in practice, I wasn't really sure if those water levels were going to really pull the fish shallow or if they were going to be just kind of stuck in their summertime haunts offshore, that sort of deal. Brush piles, rock, maybe some suspended fish with floating situations where they're chasing bait. And that's really what I tried to do the first couple days of practice. And then the water rose and somewhat stabilized throughout practice. And on the last day of practice, day 3, I just decided, I've found enough offshore, but it wasn't crazy good, enough to maybe make a cut, maybe not. So I just went all in, flipping bushes and swimming a jig through bushes on day 3 of practice, and had a pretty good day, and decided, hey, that's what I'm going to do for the tournament. So we'll get into it right away here. We ended up having a good tournament, so we got a lot of ground to cover, and let's jump right in. So this is day 1 before the start of the event. Just talking with my buddy Pat there. We share information at each one of these tournaments. Not necessarily areas, but just general things. So always good to touch base with Pat before the tournament. And run up lake to a zone where I had some bites on day 3 of practice back in a pocket. And right away I noticed that the water levels have dropped since day 3 of practice. But I still get a bite pretty quick on a swim jig, which is a good sign. I started kind of middle of this pocket and worked my way back because that's kind of where I had most of my bites that 3rd day, whether it was flipping a jig or with a swim jig. So I'm just being real thorough here, working my way back. Get a bite right away that seemed promising, but I worked my way all the way into the back of this thing and never had another bite. Swim jig, flipping, threw a buzzbait a bit, and decided that I feel like I need to make an adjustment. The water level had dropped at least a foot since the last day of practice, and so all I do is I pick trolling motor up, crank up the big motor, and I go exactly right back to where I started, and I just work the other way. Instead of working back into the pocket, I work my way out and pick up a swim jig right away, put that down, and start flipping and just being a little more thorough. Just looking to get a bite, looking to get a clue on what changed since that last day of practice. With fluctuating water levels, it really keeps you on your toes for sure. And within about 5-10 minutes of fishing back the other way towards the mouth, I get a decent bite on that jig, which is very promising. Calms me down a bit that, hey, maybe there's still some fish here. Get another small keeper, so we got 3 in the box. Just keep working my way out. I'm literally about to kind of move here and go to a different stretch in this same pocket, just out further. So, make one last little pitch to that last bush in this pocket, focusing on what's next. All of a sudden my line moves off.
Yes! Yes, baby! Holy crap.
Get my biggest bite of the week that I've seen so far.
I was just about to leave. I was looking the other way.
Line just swimming off. Unbelievable. Yes! That's a kicker. Heck yes. 4-pounder, baby. Freaking right. Yes! Biggest one I've seen all week. So 4-pounder, that's a giant for that week. You know, you need one of those each day to keep yourself in contention, and to get one that early was awesome. It really calmed me down and kind of solidified that, hey, I might be in the right area here. Get our 5th one off a little tree there, and I'm really just moving down the bank towards the mouth of this pocket, just fishing what's in front of me. Pick up a swim jig around a floating dock. Generate another nice chunk. You know, anything over 2 1/4 that week was a good base. And if you can mix in some around 3, maybe even 4 pounds, that's what you needed to have a good bag. And so we're just continuing to work down stretches in this general area. Get another one there, and you can see it. A lot of my bites that day came on the outside of these bushes. You can see kind of some of that old woody debris. That's really what I was focusing on when the water level dropped. And Shane Durance hops in the boat here after the morning. It's never a bad deal when the camera guy wants to hop in the boat. You know, we can't check Bass Track or really know where we're at throughout the day, but usually when a cameraman hops in your boat, it's a good sign that you've had a good start. So was happy to have Shane in the boat here for a little bit.
Oh, that's a good one.
Kind of brutal fish landing there, but we get another little chunk in the boat, 2+ pounder. One that's going to help us for sure. Kind of in the same zone as well. And I'm literally about to leave this area and kind of go run some new water, but I see an isolated kind of couple bushes up in front of us. You can see that woody debris sitting out off the bank. And so I decided to just run that real quick. Zoom up there with the Ultrex. And in practice, this stuff I wasn't really focusing on because it was kind of almost buried under the water. But as that water fell, it seemed like on day one that was really a key deal, is focusing on that outer stuff. I'm literally talking to Shane about moving here. Get one buried way back down in that bush.
Oh my God.
You gotta be kidding me.
I saw your rod tip. Oh my God.
I was like, am I hung or is that a fish?
I saw it, you went like this and went.
One of the kind I need, you guys.
Heck yeah, dude.
Sweet. Yes, sir. Okay, maybe I'm not going.
Yeah, maybe give us a minute. Dude, that's a good fish, dude.
Yeah, it's a good one. That's my second best one today.
Heck yeah.
Nice. He's real light colored. Almost like he just pulled up into there.
Uh-huh.
So now we've got a really good base. Everything's over 2 pounds. We got a 4-pounder, one that's close to 3. And I decided to run up the lake and fish new water that I've never been to before. I want to leave that area that I know is productive. And all of a sudden the weather starts to change a little bit, which, as you guys will see, is going to be kind of the norm for this week. You know, throw the rain gear on, rains a bit, fish for a bit, thinking that a big storm's coming in, and then all of a sudden we're stripping down the next moment, then we're putting it back on. That was kind of the theme of the week, but you know, that the weather was probably the #1 factor for us that week, as it is a lot of times. Maybe that's coming later. I'm I'm not really feeling it up here. I'm not really sure if I need to be like upgrading or kind of saving stuff right now. I'm kind of in that in-between weight. So you can hear I'm really debating what to do at this point. I feel like I've got a good bag, but I'm not leading by any means. And I don't really want to go back to my stuff that I started on and beat that up because I want to save some of it for the rest of the tournament. So I'm just trying to rack my brain on what do I do to go and upgrade in new areas. And that can be a big deal in these tournaments. You know, if you get a good base, you can go run new water, and that's when you can be dangerous. So we're running down the lake here. We start running into some major rain. I get down to a stretch where I had some bites flipping on the lower part of the lake, but with the conditions, I pick up that white swim jig and I'm trying to cover water, and didn't really happen with the swim jig, so I move offshore with a spinning rod here, just some rock areas where I had some bites from smallmouth. Never had a bite, still raining, and I put that spinning rod down, and I see a big swim bait that I had tied on for fishing around docks, and I'm like, maybe I'll try that. I throw it out. I remember throwing that cast and kind of looking at it as it came back in the water with the clouds and rain. I thought, hey, that actually looks pretty good. I'm going to commit to this for a little bit and just see what happens. And sure enough, it pays off within about 10 minutes.
Yeah, baby! Holy.
I'm fired up about that. That ended up being a 3-pound largemouth. Nice upgrade. So naturally, I really commit to this swim bait, kind of for the rest of the day, and just roll with it down these bushes. Get another really nice bite. I didn't think that this fish was very big, but when I put it on the scale, it was actually close to another 3-pound fish. So smallmouth this time. You know, those smallmouth with that water coming up seem to move shallow, and you know, that was my day. Had a great day one. Maximized my area, my starting zone. Caught 2 good ones. You know, a 4-pounder and one close to 3, and then ran new water in the afternoon with a big bait under rainy overcast conditions and got 2 more big bites. So had just over 16 pounds for the day. Was sitting in, I think, 3rd place after day 1. So extremely happy with it. Felt like I made good decisions that day. I feel like most tournament anglers are at their best when they get a good base limit in the morning, and then they can go run new water and experiment in the afternoon. And I feel like that's really when you can really be deadly. Because oftentimes you're fishing the moment, you're fishing the conditions, and you're fishing new stretches, experimenting, and that's usually when you're going to run into a couple big bites or have the opportunity to. You're fishing free and open, and that's really what happened on day 1. So extremely happy with it. Let's jump into day 2. We got cameraman with us, day 2. Day 2 here, Lake TENKILLER. I had a great day yesterday, 16 something. So happy with the start, ready to get back to it. My game plan was to start in that specific zone, but as I was going into that pocket, I kind of took a left here and just decided to fish the mouth of it. Kind of a stretch that I didn't put a lot of time in on day 1.
Nice. That's a good one. That didn't take too long.
And on my second cast, I get a nice chunk right on the
Isolated bush
there.
Nice little start. That's what they were sitting on yesterday is, you know, we're on a little point at the mouth of a pocket here, and these fish are kind of moving out. It's a nice quality one, 2 1/4 with that water falling, and well, I guess these fish maybe replenish a little bit. That was just on a flipping jig. Love it.
So super happy with that. Kind of confirmed that, hey, I think I made the right decision to stop on this bank. All of a sudden the rain starts. There's birds everywhere. It just feels really fishy.
Nice. Just a little swim jig fish. Sweet. A little cleanup craw on the back. That's a nice chunky. That's as fat as one as I've seen out here this week. There's birds everywhere up on this bank in front of us. I imagine there's a little shad spawn going on up there. Another. That one's so fat. Wow. It's heavy. I'd say like 2.6 on that one. Sweet. Biting.
Every morning kind of presented a different set of conditions. And, you know, this morning they were biting more of a reaction style bait. So that first one came on a flipping jig, but it ate it right away.
Yeah, we just had one.
These next two are more of a swim jig.
Like blow it out of the water. And never felt it though. So threw back in there with a swim jig. Caught, it's a 2-pounder.
Kind of working up and down this stretch, trying to maximize it on this day to make sure that we get inside that cut for Saturday.
Flip the jig right back where I caught that other one after we let it rest. Look how cool that one is. Black spots all over. This may be a weekend cut right there. Yeah. 2.25.
You know, these weren't giants on this stretch, but good base limit fish.
Minimum $5,500 $6 fish. I like it.
Move around the corner to my little magic willow tree that never had a big one on it, but the first 3 days of the tournament I caught my 5th fish off of that little tree. They were never big, but it always settled us down and kind of put a limit in the boat to get us started for the day.
About the same size that was on that tree yesterday. Yeah, we've had a decent start to the day. We caught, there's one, there's a little upgrade. That'll help a little bit. Not a giant, but yeah, we've had a decent start. Just flipping jig, little swim jig action as well. You know, we're doing the same deal, but just kind of adjusting the areas we're doing it in. You know, in practice back in this zone, you know, I had some better quality bites like way in the back, and yesterday morning that just wasn't the case. And so we just, instead of working back, we turned around and worked out. And it seems like with the water falling, a lot of these fish are working their way out. That's just kind of one-on-one water level fluctuation. You know, you kind of got to move with the water. If it's going up, move up. If it's coming out, you know, move out. And that's what I'm trying to just kind of play that game this week. And it worked yesterday. It worked this morning. I stopped on a place out further that I really wasn't planning to, but as I was coming into this zone, it just kind of felt right. And so I stopped and it ended up working out. You know, we still got a good bit of upgrading to do for the day, but you know, to have a start where you got, now I think this one's, yeah, everything's over 2 pounds. That's a good start here. We've got Yeah, that puts us at like probably 11 and a half to 12 pounds to get our day started. That was a little over 2 pounder. A lot of time to upgrade too, so yeah, it's been fun. I'm just kind of in my comfort zone, flipping and throwing a swim jig. And one thing that I don't do a lot of is throw a big swim bait, and I did some of that yesterday afternoon down the lake more and got 2 nice upgrades later in the afternoon. So we'll probably keep that on us today depending on the conditions. If we get a little wind or some rain this afternoon, we'll maybe do some more of that. For whatever reason, they kind of fired off when that front came through yesterday, and I caught 2 3-pounders on a line through swim bait just going down the bank. So we'll probably do that a little bit today too if we have to, if we feel like the conditions set up right for it. So I really, to maintain position, I feel like I need another 15 plus pounds. We're a ways from that right now, but we got a good base limit that'll kind of help calm us down and let us be a little more meticulous through these areas, maybe fish some new water, which that's probably going to be key this week, is running new stretches throughout the week too, as this water continues to just change. So it's been fun though. I think the water's semi-stabilized. It seems like it maybe it's dropped a little bit, but it definitely has not dropped as much as it did kind of over our off day on Wednesday. So that's promising for this shallow bite today. There's certainly still fish up here. We might just have to get creative and fish new stretches, in different areas that are maybe out further from where they had been. But I'm just gonna kind of keep, being that it's stabilized, I'm gonna keep working my way back in here until we go a ways without a bite, or if we do get a bite, we'll keep at it. Being that it's stabilized, maybe some of these fish kind of maybe move back in. I don't really know yet. It's hour by hour right now on this place, at least for the shallow bite. I think that deep bite is a little more stable right now, but the shallow bite is definitely keeping us on our toes this week.
So there's a good summation of kind of where our mind's at, and we got a base limit, and all of a sudden we got a bit of rain coming soon after that little interview, and I decided, hey, I need to get down the lake and pick up that big swim bait and see if I can generate some big bites. So I moved right back down to those same general areas that I caught them on day one. The rain kind of lets up. It didn't really happen. I'm bouncing around, kind of in that general stretch or area of the lake, and moved back to a new stretch I didn't fish on day one. I flipped my jig into this bush, and as I'm reeling it up out of that bush, I see a big smallie follow it, and so I just dropped that jig right back down to the bottom. Sure enough, he ate it.
Yes! Yes, dude! Big old smallie flipping. Look at that. The thing followed me up from the bush, so I just dropped it. Yes, baby! That's one of the bites we need. Look at that thing. Golly. I pulled it out of that bush, and as I was reeling it in, I saw it just follow me right up. And I was over that little limb, and I just kind of let it hang there and twitch, and she got it. Wow, that's the biggest smallie I've caught all week.
Well, that thing ended up being 4 pounds. Not every day when they follow you up like that do they eat on bottom, so we got super lucky. I apologize for the view here due to the rain, but I was throwing that swim bait again up into the bushes.
Yes, baby!
We get another big bite.
Yes! Take it off for more.
Rain started up again. picked up the swim bait and got a nice upgrade. That one ended up being 3 pounds as well. For whatever reason, you know, obviously we know these fish really can bite on whenever a front comes through, but I think on TENKILLER with that clear water, it really made these things bite.
That's what we need. Gosh, that's a fun bite.
Because right on the edge of one of these bad fronts full of lightning. And this is just a judgment call you got to make sometimes. This is really the first tournament in 6 years of fishing the elites where I've ever taken a break because of weather. But the lightning was so nasty. I don't care about rain. I'll fish in rain and wind and whatever. But when that lightning's cracking overhead, it is not cool, especially when you're holding the graphite rod above your head. So we got off the water.
We might be here for like a half hour, 20 minutes. Okay. All right, well, we're taking cover for a little bit here. We just hopped up on the shore. It's lightning pretty bad, so better be safe than sorry is kind of what I thought. I have an okay bag right now, so I'd rather not be out in the middle of the lake, but we just caught like almost a 4-pound smallie and then a 3-pound largemouth, so definitely the upgrades we needed. Looks like this will blow over here in the next 20 minutes, half hour, then we'll get back to it. But I'm cool fishing in the rain, but we're hearing and seeing a little too much lightning right above us, so yeah, just taking cover for a bit, hoping this is the right call. Hope this tree doesn't get struck above us, but I think we'll be fine. It's hard, we're not really close to a marina to get under, and a lot of the docks got lifts or gates in front of them. You can't really get underneath them. So yeah, this is the next best option. So take it easy for the next 20 minutes or so.
As we were sitting there, water just started pouring out of this little ditch and ravine that we were pulled up in. You can see the mud and the water's just dumping into this place, but there's still some clear water around it, but right where the water was dumping in is just pure mud. But you know, this rain is actually working to my advantage in terms of stabilizing the water levels and making sure that it doesn't really continue to drop too much. So it's keeping those fish up in those bushes where we want them. But there's a huge push of water when we were sitting there. We watched that waterfall just build and build for the 20 minutes that we were there. It's kind of crazy. But I just go back to skipping that thing. The rain finally lets up. I do a little flipping, just trying to get an upgrade before check-in. But we never did get another upgrade. So we load the boat here. Bluebird skies all of a sudden. It doesn't even look like the same day. But that's just how it was on TENKILLER that week. So we get the boat loaded up. I had my Uncle Mark was there. He came from Texas, drove up, helped me bag some fish, watched the weigh-in. I appreciate you coming, Mark. That was awesome to have you there. That was super fun when friends and family can make it.
My scale says like 14 something. One of my scales went bad today in the middle of the day, but I got a big smallmouth. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, look at that. Holy cow. You gotta hold that one.
Thanks, Mark. Glad to have you here.
Awesome. It's such an awesome scene.
So that's a wrap on day 2. Really cool to have my uncle there to help bag the fish at the end of the day. What a crazy day of weather. You know, that's just how it was on TENKILLER. We lost out on some fishing time, unfortunately. That's just kind of a judgment call. The only thing I hate about that is it really can mess with the rhythm of your day a little bit. You know, when you're in tournament mode and you're so focused and dialed in on what you're doing, when you got to take a break like that, your mental focus just takes a bit of a shift. And then you're also wondering, you know, are other guys out there in the lightning? Are they upgrading while I'm sitting on the bank? But I also don't want to get struck by lightning, so I want to take cover. So it was a little bit of a weird mental battle that week with some of the weather that we dealt with, not only on day 2 but in practice, and also a bit on day 3 and day 4. But had another good day, maintained that 3rd place position. I think I had 14 pounds, something like that. So going into day 3, I have a shot to win this tournament. I feel like I need 15 plus pounds to keep myself in it on day 3. So this is a really critical, pivotal moment for this tournament. So let's dive into it and see what we can come up with. I knew that I found a good zone up the lake. I've had some quality bites each day up there, so I decided to go right back to that same stretch to try and get a good base limit. And as you can see, it's really calm bluebird skies, so instead of that swim jig, I pick up the flipping jig to start our day and put a small one in the boat right away. This is just a 1/2 ounce green pumpkin custom made flipping jig. My buddy Caleb Kufal actually makes it. And I had a cleanup craw on the back for a trailer. And that's what I caught all my flipping fish on this week. I was throwing it on a 7-foot 3-inch heavy, extra fast St. Croix Victory. And unfortunately, that prototype that I had had for 3 years, I finally snapped the rod tip off of it. But that was my fault. You can see I got my rod too far straight up and down, and that fish was pulling down on it and just snapped the tip. You're going to do that with most rods if you get your rod at that bad angle. But that was a good quality one. That was further back in there than some of the other ones. Once again on the flipping stick. Here we get a 4th bite hung up in the wood.
Yes. That's a better one.
Kept some tension on it, and it came in the boat.
Said to keep tension on it. It's hung up in there. A little better one. It's a healthy one, you guys. That might be pushing 3 pounds. Gosh, just barely hooked and hung up there. Not 3-pounder, but it's a high 2. That's one of the kind we need. It's a 212. Nice. Nice. That's one we can weigh in. Sweet. We got fortunate there that that one didn't come off. Hung it up in there and hung it in this woody crap, and just kind of hanging there. All you can do is just kind of keep tension on it and hope that they swim out of there, and that one did. We got really lucky there. There we go. Little upgrade. How's that, Chase?
I had Chase Sansom chasing me down the bank with a camera.
Wide one.
And timing was
A little bit of an upgrade.
was good on that one.
Say 1.5.
I think we had a limit at that time, and it called out our small one. Just working in that same general zone. These fish are clearly replenishing. We've been able to get a good base limit each day out of there.
Chunky one.
And the water levels did stabilize, if not come up a little bit overnight after that big push of rain on day 2. So, on day 1, this zone, I didn't get any bites in the back of this pocket. But with that increase in water level, I decided to just keep working my way back. And of course, we got another storm coming in. The guys from the studio are telling the cameraman there's maybe tornadoes in the area, so it's one of those deals where it's like, what's gonna happen here? But let's keep the bait wet just in case.
Yes! Yeah, baby! Frickin' tub. I'm glad I came back here now. Gosh, I was debating whether or not to. What a crazy week of weather, you guys. We are on the edge of a major front, but we just got a tub. Heck yeah. That's one of the bites we need. Yep. Four-pounder. Yes. I think we're fishing Sunday. Yes, baby. Yes. Anytime a big front's blown through this week, we've generated some big bites. It's a little hairy because I don't want to be out here if it's lightning and sounds like possible tornadoes, but we'll keep an eye on it and hope we're on the edge of it and we can keep fishing, because it seems like every time one comes through this week, I get a big bite. Wow. That was huge. Thank you. Oh. Maybe found a little fresh batch. I don't know if that's a helper or not. Skinny. Yeah, that's a helper. 2-pounder. Sweet. All right. 2-pound even, yeah.
So we got another good base limit out of that zone, and you know, it's day 3, like I said, pivotal day in this tournament. I need a big bag to keep myself in contention, so I leave that area and I go run a bunch of new water down the lake, flip in, throwing that swim bait, just kind of playing the conditions. And there's cameraman with us, Sago. He's going to take cover because another system's blowing through. I really don't want to go take cover if I don't have to, because I feel like this is my time to maybe generate another big bite with that swim bait. So I'm talking to the camera here. What do I do? What do I do? You know, I'm going to try and keep on the bank as long as possible. Then I check the radar. It's like, no, I think it's coming. Let's take cover for 20 minutes, half hour. Then after that, we'll have enough time to fish and try and upgrade. So I'm constantly wrestling in my head what to do, and you know, ended up being the safe thing to do was take cover. This system had a bunch of wind in it, a bunch of lightning. So this time we do get closer to a marina. Take a little lunch break. You know, as bad as I want to be out there trying to upgrade, I feel like it was a smart thing to do. That thing blew over in about 20 minutes, half hour, and there's still lightning cracking all around us. So I just decided to kind of hang close to this marina just in case it gets bad again, and throw that big swim bait around these marina floats, flip a jig a little bit in some nearby bushes. I think I get a small bite here that ultimately doesn't help us. But I was kind of forced to pull off of my main areas to get to that marina, and it really just kind of jacked with the rest of my day. I get a few small bites here, but nothing that ends up helping us out. But we go to the last minute, keep that big bait in our hands if the conditions are right with that rain and clouds, just praying for one more big bite to keep us in this thing. But ultimately it never happened. You know, still not a bad day overall. You know, kept ourselves in it. for day 4. You know, end of day 3, we're still sitting in the top 5 in the tournament. I think we're like 3rd, 4th, or 5th. I'll have to look. I'll put it up for you guys. But still had an okay day. You know, generated 1 4-pound bite, one almost close to 3, and a good base limit otherwise. So we're still in it, but we've fallen back a bit. We didn't have that day we wanted to on day 3, but we made a top 10. You know, anytime you make a top 10 on the Elite Series, it's been a great week. And going into day 4, I knew I had to have a giant bag. I knew I was going to have 18 plus to probably have a shot to win, which is very doable out there. It's not easy, but it's doable. And I decide to run back to that same zone I've been starting in each day, because every day I seem to get a good base and maybe a couple good ones out of it. And it's raining, overcast again, you know, not the bluebird skies that we had the day before.
I don't mind a little wind for doing this swim jig.
And they were biting. I was throwing that swim jig again and was able to get, you know, a little base going in the morning, just swimming that thing around those outer bushes. That was a 3/8 ounce Beast Coast white swim jig. I think it was their heavy one. I think it's called like a Gorilla or something.
Gosh, that looked really big at first.
With the white cleanup craw on the back. It's got a really good hook in that swim jig for throwing it on braid. I was throwing it on 7.3 medium heavy fast St. Croix black bass rod with 30-pound Suffix 832 braid. And here I'm all the way in the back of that pocket where I caught the 4-pounder the day before. And we've worked our way all the way back in there. And that water level has continued to stabilize and maybe even rise a bit. So, you know, day 1, we never got a bite back there. But that water level continued to come up, so I just kept moving back.
The ones we caught back in this zone yesterday were about that size, except for the 1 4-pounder.
And here I'm debating in my head, what do I do? Do I run new water? Do I stay back here? Because I've caught some good ones the last few days. I know I need some big fish to get a good limit to try and win this thing. But there's potential here, but maybe it's only 1 or 2 good ones. I'm just constantly wrestling in my head what to do.
Big old smallie sitting back here in the current. Well, I shouldn't say big one, but he's a helper, I think.
There's some current rolling in the back of that thing, and I got a smallie just over 2 pounds.
There we go. Yeah, a little better.
And a nice largemouth.
Maybe the current will make a difference.
That one was closer to 3 pounds. So there's fish back there.
Mud just rolling in here. And we caught a smallie and a chunky largemouth. They seem to be, man, look at that thing's pooping all over the place. I don't want to wash them off out there.
Some quality, but we're not seeing those 3+ pounders that I really feel like I need to try and win this thing.
Giant after catching all these smaller ones.
So I buzz out of there with, you know, 11 pounds something, and I run a ton of new water after that, trying to find a stretch that's got some 4-pounders on it, you know, maybe even a giant 5-pounder. I completely vacate my starting zone just to try and make something happen. You don't get many chances where you're in the top 10 to try and win a tournament. And I won't bore you guys with all the different stuff I ran in the afternoon, but ultimately it just never worked out. So we run back, get back to weigh in here, and get to chat with Dave a little bit.
He is a Bassmaster Elite Series bridesmaid. He is a Bassmaster Open winner from Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. Oh, Bob Downey! Started the day with 44 pounds and 12 ounces. Needs 14 pounds, 5 ounces. To knock Brandon Card out of our Yeti hot seat. 11 pounds, 13 ounces. He moves into second place with 56 pounds and 9 ounces. A big finish once again here this week for old Bob Downey. Bob, 56 pounds, 9 ounces, and man, a great tournament here this week. Got to be happy with the way this one shook out for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I just got up on the bank and, flipped around, threw a swim jig a little bit. Caught a couple on a swim bait the first 2 days, but that didn't really materialize the last few days. But had a lot of fun out here. This lake's really cool. Never been here before. Thank you guys for having us. It's absolutely full of fish. I'd love to come here in the pre-spawn and see the weights. I think it would really show out. But thank you guys again. Want to say thanks to my dad. Happy Father's Day. Thanks for taking me fishing when I was a little guy. That's probably the reason I'm up on this stage. So yeah, it was super fun. Just flipped a jig, swum a jig, and a couple on a swim bait, which was a super fun week.
Oklahoma's been pretty good to you. Obviously got an open win in Oklahoma. And why did this fishery set up well for you?
I fish the Mississippi River a lot back home, and when water comes up, we flip wood and bushes, and so I just felt right at home. I really tried to get offshore the first couple days of practice, fish for some floaters, fish for some fish on rock and brush pile, and I caught them doing that, but not very great. And then the third day of practice, I got up in the bushes and was like, that's what I'm doing the rest of the week. So it was super fun, and look forward to hopefully coming back soon. Thank you guys for showing out. This is an awesome crowd.
Congrats on a great event.
And that's a wrap. Finished, I believe, 5th place for the week. Had almost 12 pounds on day 4. So close to winning another tournament on the Elite Series. I've only had a few shots, and you only, get maybe one shot a year. So, happy with the week. Felt like if I could do anything differently, I'd maybe just fish different stretches than I tried to in terms of fishing new stuff. I tried to find that magic stretch on day 4, and it never happened at the end of the day. I tried to keep that swim bait in my hand a lot in the afternoon on day 3 to generate another big bite, and it never happened. So I felt like I fished well, made some good decisions that week. Anytime you make a top 5, you got to be happy with it. But you just don't get that many chances to try and win one of these tournaments. What do? I took some chances with that big bait. It didn't pay off. I took some chances running new water in the afternoon on day 4, and never paid off either. So hats off to Wes Logan and Andrew Loberg. They battled it out right to the last minute. Wes came out on top by 1 ounce. Those guys both had great tournaments that week, and it was super fun. Got to flip a 1/2 ounce jig. Once again, my buddy Caleb Kufal makes that jig. It's a really good flipping jig. And then a Beast Coast 3/8 ounce swim jig. It was kind of the first week I threw that swim jig and was really happy with it. It's got a really good hook in it. And St. Croix, the Victory 7.3 heavy extra fast for the flipping jig, and 7.3 medium heavy fast black bass rod for the swim jig. And then I threw that swim bait on a 7.4 heavy fast. So around those bushes, you kind of had to skip and be meticulous about little skip casts and roll casts, and that 7.4 was kind of the perfect happy medium. Not too long, not too short. It handled it really well. So that's it. This put us sitting really good in points for AOI. Top 20 in AOI going into a little summer break before the Northern Swing, and really couldn't be happier with the tournament, besides maybe not pulling it out when we had a chance after day 2. But that's how it goes sometimes. Thanks you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you at the next one.